Bonjour, buenos dias, good morning. It's a very special honor to welcome you to this sub-theme, Improving Governance and Building Capacity, which is focused on forest communication. I'm very glad to see so many people attending to this session, despite the competing situation in the Congress. So welcome to the sub-theme. The forest community needs, though, to engage urgently in forest communication. It's the only way to solve this challenge. Communication, though, needs to be professional, needs to be strategic, needs to be proactive and solvent in the frame of communication strategies. And for sure, there is a need for coordination, and networks at all scales are crucial. In that sense, FAO took advantage of the experience of a joint network in Europe that has been existing for 20 years and is replicated in all the regions of the world in the past 2 years, regional communication networks that were discussed and very strongly supported in the last Committee on Forestry. The sense of this network is to share experience, to act as networks, to know very interesting, inspiring experiences and failures of other colleagues, to overcome isolation of actors in the countries, and to act as encouragement. I look much forward to this session and all the interaction under the lead of Matt as a star journalist, and I'm sure we will get inspired out of the discussions. Thank you for your attention.
So I was in a session yesterday, the plenary session, and the former Swedish Prime Minister, who's a wonderfully wise man, who speaks with the wisdom of forests and of power. And he said, in a very slow and deliberate voice, like the ad man from IKEA almost, he said, "We are terrible communicators."
So, no, I come back to what I said before. We are lousy communicators.
That is our biggest problem. We cannot communicate. And that's what we're here to fix in this session. Okay? Because if you're going to try and fix this incredibly complex layer cake of government, private investors, public investors, institutions, NGOs, and the people on the ground, and the trees and the forests, you're going to have to talk to each other. And that seems to be not happening to a sufficient extent. So we're going to try and unpeel that particular onion today in a multi-layered program, which will include, at some stage, the Drum Cafe. Drum Cafe, are you still there? Okay. Give us a twirl. Woo! Yes! But basically, I am not making use of the full capacity of communication that the glorious World Wide Web has to offer me. But I will introduce you to someone who does. Robert Grace. He is the youngest, the brightest, the newest managing partner of the greatest advertising firm that has ever existed in the Saatchi family.
Now, the challenge that communication faces is you've got to go through all that information. You have to sift through it to get to that thing that is meaningful in the first place. And that's what communication is about. So if you take a brand like this, Nike, and I had to ask you who's their enemy, and I won't because I probably won't hear you from up here, you'd probably say Adidas or Puma. But actually, Nike's enemy is apathy. If through their communication they cannot get people off the couch doing something, they don't have a business. So what's important to understand is what is that thing that you have to overcome in order to be successful?
You've all heard of TED Talks, I assume. And you would have heard of Morecambe and Wise, Laurel and Hardy, Cagney and Lacey. Well, forget all that. I give you tree talks, and I give you Ingvald and Kai.
Our challenge is still that we undervalue and misunderstand communication. By that, what do we mean by communication? Robert just before told us that to be effective and successful in communicating, you need to know your enemy. So who is our enemy? And our enemy is certainly not products, materials other than wood. Our enemy is ignorance. And you need a strategic approach.
To fail to plan is a plan to fail. Good communication needs to be planned and sustained, and we need everybody involved to be aware of what the messages are and what we need to achieve.
Communication is done for a purpose, of course. So you need aims and objectives.
Many good communication strategies, they start with a set of clear objectives, so we're specific about what we need to achieve.
Now, she will give us a presentation on how the forest sector can communicate its key common message, but only if it speaks with one voice. And that one voice for now will be Maria. Please.
As Matt just mentioned, when people speak up together, their voices have power. The networks now have over 300 enthusiastic members, mostly professionals from governments and forestry organizations around the world. Their work has resulted in some truly remarkable initiatives, and positive messages about forestry events are now being heard from Australia to Zambia. It's a clear example on how an inclusive network built from the roots up can amplify a message literally in all areas of the globe. Working together, the forest communicators networks are not only increasing the capacity to communicate well, they're spreading the message in the world in a way we would have never imagined many years ago, and we really only just have begun.
And as Maria explained as well, the crucial thing about spreading the message isn't just the branding, engaging the wider audience. It's about the local networks of communications. So let us pass from the duo that we had earlier to a trio of key local communicators who can talk to us about that. So can we please welcome on stage Nkeba and Kobo, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Gasta Chengi and Neba Noba.
Sharing of information around the status of our African forest and communicating. There were also, one of the things that came out was the forest communication lessons, the lessons that we learned, the challenges and the way forward, how we propose to work together moving forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, our numbers are growing across Africa. When we started, we were 36, as you saw. Then the number somewhere in 2014 grew to about 46, but now we are around 90. I don't know, if we take closer, proper statistics after this meeting, we should be above that. And we are present in 24 countries, and we think we are going to continue growing.
And then finally, we have Patricia Sphere. Patricia, thank you very much. Please take your seat. Patricia is the rural development expert at Seeds International, a civil company dedicated to providing innovative solutions for improving the socio-economic conditions of individuals.
I think that the task of communication is hard, and I saw the survey results, and I think that we're answering our own questions. I think the question to ask is put yourselves in the shoes of the people you're trying to engage and understand what's going to be meaningful for them, because I assure you that not many people get up in the morning and think about, let's say, forests.
I come from a part of the world where communication seems to be quite difficult. Not these days, but for such a long time. And forests have always been associated, when you talk about communication in forest issues, with a problem, with an urgency, with an emergency, with a fire, with a broken, fell down trees. Everything that is bad was only communicated about forest. And I think that's what we need to change, this perception of the negative issues of the forest, extrapolate to the positive things that the forest would offer. That's what I agree with him on the hope, on the message that we really want to convey to the people.
I think it was also very touchy what Maria and the colleagues from the African Forest Communication Network shared, how these networks from the European experience, but not only a passive experience, with the engagement of the key people of Ingwald and Kai and others that have shared with the new networks of the past 4 years that have spread in the world, 300 members, and what the colleagues from Africa shared, the need to provide a voice to the people on the ground, that are forest-dependent communities, that are those which in this urban society get voiceless, and then their issues are discussed by other people that do not know the challenges, the difficulties. I think this is really what we have to try. These networks, it's not for the sake of FAO, it's not for the sake of the institution, it's for voicing and empowering fully this local community. Thank you very much. We are unfortunately at the end of our time, but we still have a surprise.